Thomas the Tank Engine loves his branch line with a burning passion. An update to his train had altered as Thomas now takes milk from the farms on his first train on Mondays. He was surprised to find a milk tanker fast asleep in the sidings. "Is that time already?" yawned the tanker. "Oh, hello, Thomas. Nice to see you back." "Glad to be back," smiled Thomas. "Ready for our run?" "I don't think so." The tanker yawned again. "I'm waiting for Daisy." Thomas was confused. "But the milk goes on the first train, and I'm the first train." The yard manager heard the commotion and came over. "Haven't you seen the schedule?" he asked. "I just assumed you were back to the usual timetable," blushed Thomas's driver. "This isn't right," huffed Thomas. "I'm always first to leave." "It's Thomas' orders," shrugged the yard manager. "Probably wants to ease you back into service. Why don't you rest a little longer?" But Thomas didn't do much resting, as he enviously watched Daisy and the tanker leave the station. A few hours later, Thomas was running happily up the line with Annie and Clarabelle. "Calm down, Thomas," called Annie. "We're being bounced around back here." "My poor wheels!" wailed Clarabelle. "Daisy never jolts like this!" Upon hearing that, Thomas slowed down at once. His smile fell to a frown, and he felt too sad to even whistle. Further up the line, a stubborn cow stood on the rails, contentedly chewing grass. Thomas hissed steam and blew his whistle at it, but it was no good. "Come on, move! Move!" he fumed. The cow took no notice. Green grass was more captivating than a blue tank engine. Thomas was so busy hissing at the cow, he didn't notice Daisy coming back up the line with the tanker. "Fiddle your steam, dearie," she called. "I'll fill this." Daisy gave a mighty toot of her horn, and the cow trotted quickly away. "Old Bessie always seems to get loose," she chuckled. "We must have a chat with the farmer about her." Thomas said nothing. He just puffed away, annoyed. That night, Thomas backed into the sheds and found Daisy waiting for him. "Thank goodness you're here," she smiled. "Joey's stuck at the quarry. Percy's with his mail routine. I was worried I'd be alone tonight." "Oh, I bet you love to be alone anyway," scowled Thomas. Daisy was taken aback. "I'm not sure I understand your meaning, dear." "It's quite clear how perfectly the branch line has been when I'm not here," Thomas parried. "Everyone just loves you, don't they?" "Would you rather we let it fall into confusion?" Daisy asked flatly. "I'd rather it still be my branch line," grumbled Thomas. He shuffled into the darkness and promptly went to sleep, leaving a confused Daisy wide awake. The next morning, Daisy went on her way with the milk tanker and the passengers. Thomas had been working early and asked to sort out the trucks. He didn't like this one bit and banged about the yard. The trucks wisely kept quiet. Meanwhile, Terrence the tractor was taking a cart of lumber into town. He was being driven by a young farmhand who wasn't taking much care. Rather than using the level crossing, he drove Terrence right across the rails. "Ouch!" Terrence cried. "Just because I can go anywhere doesn't mean I should!" The cart jolted across the rails, some of the lumber rattled loose, fell off the back, and lay across the line. Neither Terrence nor the farmhand noticed, and they continued on their way. Daisy was coming back from the junction, and was still in a foul mood. "Who does he think he is?" she grumbled to the tanker. "Silly little tank engine." "He's a funny sort," the tanker replied, "but he does love his line." Daisy was about to apply when... "Woo!" she cried. Broken timber was caught in her axles. None of the passengers were hurt, but the line was well and truly blocked. Thomas was still banging about the yard when the station master came running. "Daisy's off the line near Terrence's field," he called. "Will you take Annie and Clarabelle to fetch the passengers?" Thomas stopped grumbling at once. He coupled to the coaches and raced up the line. We're coming! We're coming!" he puffed with determination. Thomas was relieved to see his passengers were unharmed, but felt mostly sorry for Daisy. She looked miserable. "Thank you, Thomas," smiled the passengers when he arrived. "We're glad you can come to our rescue." Thomas smiled, but knew the work was far from over. As the passengers climbed aboard the coaches, Duck arrived with the breakdown train. Thomas rushed back to the top station as quickly as he could. Duck took Daisy to the works to be mended. While she was gone, Thomas worked extra hard doing Daisy's work as well as his own. "Careful!" laughed the old tanker, "or you'll churn me to butter!" There was no damage done, and Daisy returned to the shed the following evening. "Thank you for your help," she said to Thomas. "You really do go the extra mile for your passengers." "Our passengers," corrected Thomas. "I'm sorry I was cross. The milk tanker told me how splendid you've been, in spite of a few hiccups." "I'd rather put that behind me," she stuttered. "Then we'll say no more about it, or my prior rudeness, and start anew," Thomas smiled. "A grand idea," Daisy grinned, and the two friends went happily to sleep.